Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman has tabled the economic survey in the Lok Sabha today. Ahead of the presentation of the Union Budget tomorrow, she said that the government expects the economy to grow between 6.5% and 7% in fiscal year 2025. Now, the economic survey is a crucial document that provides a detailed review on India's economy from the past financial year. Now, domestic growth drivers supported economic growth in fiscal year 2024 despite uncertain global economic performance, states the report. Now, escalation in geopolitical conflicts and its impact may influence RBI's monetary policy stance as per the report as well. Now, the report also states that India's policy adeptly steered through challenges, ensuring price stability despite global uncertainties. Now, the report further showed that tax compliance gains, expenditure restraint and digitization helped India achieve fine balance in government's fiscal management. So there, of course, this is crucial ahead of course, the union budget that is going to be announced tomorrow. But viewers, today what we're going to do is we're going to take you through 10 graphs that are there present in the union budget, and we're going to start with this one over here. This is, of course, about the momentum in economic growth over there. So, of course, what you see over here in blue is the nominal GDP, and it's in lakh crores. Okay, so that's there, and this, the yellow line that you see over here, is real GDP growth percent. So that's, of course, there. Now, just taking a look at fiscal year 2020, it was here at roughly a nominal GDP being 200. Then in 2021, it did in fact take a dip. As you can see in 2022, it suddenly shot up. So there you see the real GDP taking a big course, a big jump over there. Again, you can see over here, and as you can see, there are percentages also marked over here in this map. So roughly when we talk about 2024, it stands at 8%. So that's, of course, there in the picture. This is, of course, explaining the economic growth, the momentum in the economic growth. So, of course, that's there in the picture. And let's take this conversation forward with Mr. Akash Jindal, senior economist, joining us on the broadcast. Sir, thank you so much for taking our time and speaking to us on NewsX. I've, of course, given our viewers an understanding on that particular graph that was there in the economic survey, but if you could also give our viewers an understanding on what you make out of these numbers that are coming in.
Very intelligently drafted document, because it talks about GDP growth, which is quite a reasonable number. We expected the GDP growth target to be a much higher number, but I think the target is quite reasonable seeing the global scenario. Plus, what has been mentioned is the global scenario has also been mentioned very rightly, because globally, yes, things are not good. The world is going through a slowdown that we all understand and know. Now, to go into detail about that, Germany, now the third biggest economy in 2023, they had a quarter of negative GDP growth. Now you talk about US, the biggest economy in the world, the role model economy. After the commencement of Russia-Ukraine war, they had 2 quarters of negative GDP growth. That is technically a recession. Similar is the position of Japan. Japan, which was the third biggest economy, now it has downwards. It has started a downward journey. It has become fourth biggest economy. China, which was considered a dragon, showing double-digit GDP growth once upon a time. Today, that China is having many problems. They are having debt issues, they are having real estate issues, they had deflation for a certain period, and now demand is slowing, plus US-China trade war, which was there many years ago, is having its impact on China, the things which they are having with Taipei, the things which they are doing in South China Sea, all have impacted their global image, and China is not able to sell to the world the way it used to. So it's very clear that there's a global slowdown. But in spite of the global slowdown, India is performing very well. I totally endorse our government on that. We had an 8.2% GDP growth for 2023-24. Now, what tells that? What it tells is that we are the fastest growing economy even during this global slowdown, because all the 4 economies which are bigger than us, America, China, Germany, Japan, the growth rate was much lesser. Rather, in certain cases, for certain quarters, it was in negative also. So I think it's an intelligently crafted document. Now you talk about if you talk about interest rate and financial policy, of course, if a war escalates, because as of now, Russia-Ukraine war is also there, Israel-Hamas issue is also there, Houthi attacks was also there. If there's some escalation anywhere in the world, definitely and surely it's going to impact the interest rates, as we have seen earlier. Because what happened was right after the start of Russia-Ukraine war, we saw US inflation go up to right 9%. And US had to raise interest rates on a regular basis. Because of that, certain banks in US
Right.
failed because bond prices fluctuated like anything. So I think global scenario we have to take care. Global scenario is not good. Though India is progressing very well, and the GDP growth target which we have kept is quite reasonable. I think with this performance of 8.2%,
Absolutely.
the belief of
Yeah.
my organization, Akash was that the GDP growth target should have been much more higher. But our government has been quite reasonable in having a GDP growth target. Plus, the government is very much agile and aware of the global slowdown and the global risks our economy is facing. Because what happens is if tomorrow the war escalates, the issues escalate, tomorrow India's IT BPO, which we are supplying to US, Europe, there could be an impact.
Absolutely,
Tomorrow,
absolutely. Let's take a look at graph number 2 that was there in the economic survey to give our viewers a better understanding. And there you have it. It's basically talking about the vehicle sales in rural areas. And, of course, this is, of course, post the pandemic. These numbers, of course, they're flashing. But let's start with 2018 and I'll just give you an understanding. What you see over here in yellow is, of course, the three-wheeler vehicles. What you see over here in grey is talking about the passenger vehicles, and over here the purple line that you see running over here are two-wheeler vehicles. So of course, just to give you an understanding on what's what, the numbers that are being registered are in lakhs, and of course you can see it over here, and it starts with fiscal year 2018 until 2024, and numbers in lakhs over here. So of course that's there. Now let's talk about 2018 itself. Now as you see over here, it started with roughly the number being 12 lakhs. So that's of course where we started. Three-wheelers there being slightly lesser than what's here in 2019. You can see, of course, this two-wheelers over here sort of increasing, the number increasing over there. And there, of course, you can see between 2019 and 2020, there was an increase that was registered. Again, as far as three-wheelers are concerned, there seems to be a sort of an upward curve over here. But again, when we talk about 2021, there was a sudden, it suddenly shot down. And as you can see over here also, when it comes to passenger vehicles, there was a dip, and again with the two-wheelers as well. So if we keep on continuing, you can see between 2022, 2023, 2024, there has been a tremendous increase in terms of the vehicle purchase that we can see over here in terms of lakhs. So of course that's there in the picture, and this is how this graph has explained it. And in fact, sir, we've of course given our viewers an understanding of the numbers that are coming in as far as vehicle sales are concerned. Of course, there was a bit of a dip in 2021, but that's of course because of the pandemic as well. But now in 2024, we see a tremendous increase. So how do you view these numbers?
See, this clearly shows a rise of Indian demand and consumption in India. Now, demand and consumption in India, we had seen a lot of buoyancy in 2023-4. People were having good incomes and they were coming out and buying. In fact, wherever I go to global forums, India is known for its demand and consumption, and that great Indian demand story has exhibited in strong numbers. Vehicle sales have been very good. Now, if we talk about commercial vehicles, whenever the commercial vehicle sales are good, it means the economy is performing very well. Rather, what I say, the motto of my organization, Akash.in, is if you want to see economic growth, just see the truck sales. Now, if you talk about passenger vehicles, India has been buying passenger vehicles, whether it's cars, whether it's two-wheelers, and that's very good for the economy. Because if one car is sold, 20,000 people, mind it, 20,000 people get direct and indirect employment. If one two-wheeler is sold, 12,000 people get direct and indirect employment. Because in a car, there would be certain people who will be manufacturing it, certain people would be manufacturing its tire,
right.
Somebody would be manufacturing a music system, somebody would be putting accessories into the vehicle, somebody would be funding it, somebody would be insuring it, somebody would be selling it, somebody would be sitting on the roadside, a brother of mine who would be applying punctures to the car, somebody would be putting fuel into the car. So many people get employed, not only at the domestic front, but now exports also. India is becoming big. India is now trying to export maximum number of cars to the world. Number one, it shows the quality compliance India is having. Number two, it means that India would have decent forex. Now, India's forex reserves also are on a good high. When the globe is facing problem, the globe is going through a slowdown. Countries like Pakistan, they are facing financial bankruptcy. They don't have any forex reserves to save. Very little forex reserve. India is going in forex reserve. Why? Because we are exporting. We are exporting vehicles. We are exporting mobiles. We are even exporting in defense equipment, and our import and manufacturing going ahead would not be that high. Not only that, we are now into the manufacture of very difficult and very technical equipment like semiconductors. Semiconductors, let me tell our viewers, is like the essence of any electronic item, be it a mobile phone, be it a laptop, be it a car, be it a LED set, be it an air conditioner. That also we are trying to manufacture. So the target which we are having is Atmanirbhar Bharat, Make in India, is definitely helping us. That's giving us jobs, and that's ensuring that we have a decent forex reserve. That's what Indian economy today is.
Absolutely, absolutely. More and more charts, of course, we have over here to discuss, and I'm going to quickly walk you through it. This one right here is about the increased household savings in the form of physical assets. What you see over here in blue are the savings in physical assets, which is, of course, can be gold, can be property. That's exactly what it is all about. And the line that you see over here in red is the savings in physical assets as per the GDP. So you can see, of course, the chart over here, the first starting from 2012 up until 2023, you can see it over there. It sort of increased. It started with a over there, and through the course of the years, of course, during the pandemic, we again saw a low. But here is where we have, in fact, come, which is roughly 13.5%. And which essentially talks in terms of lakh crores over here, 1 lakh crore. So each and every digit over here serves as 1 lakh crore. So roughly about 25 lakh crores over there is what we are learning at this point of time. Let's also take a look at this graph that we have, which is essentially talking about the record housing sales in top 8 cities. So this is, of course, data that has been collected on the basis of the 8 top cities. And we can see, of course, over here it's starting from, of course, 2020 quarter 1, quarter 3, they've divided it up that way, and it started, again, just giving you an understanding, housing sales in thousands. So of course it started with roughly touching 100 over there. That's Q1 over there, and then in Q3 you can of course see a dip. Again, 2021, the pandemic year, where you can see how the graph sort of becomes shaky over there. But let's talk about 2024, where at least in Q3 we can see there being an exceptional, of course, you can see over here being exceptional, almost touching the 140 mark. So we can see how things have changed in terms of the housing sales in the top 8 cities. And we're going to take this conversation forward with Mr. Akash Jindal. So, in terms of housing, the one's prized possession, the necessity, numbers looking relatively better over here. How do you then view, of course, the data, and what is the tale that it then tells us?
Congratulate your channel and you, the way you have minutely examined the economic survey. It has given me a lot of happiness. This is my 8th show since morning, so economic survey has just come. But the way you people have minutely gone into it and analyzed, I think you need a lot of congratulations. Now, as far as housing is concerned, surely. Now, third quarter housing had to boom, because third quarter, mind it, it's Diwali quarter, when people go in for maximum number of house purchases. And many people consider it auspicious also. Diwali, I think, was on 13th November, if I'm not wrong. And that was quarter 3. So housing sales definitely are going very good in India. People are acquiring new houses, and the government has a target. Our Prime Minister Modi Saab has a target of housing for everyone. He wants to give houses to everybody, particularly the lower middle class and the deprived one, our poor brothers and sisters. So this is a great step, great achievement in right direction. Not only this, the feeling of my organization, akashjindal.in, is in this budget also, there are going to be many concessions for housing finance, because we know generally majority of the houses are purchased through housing finance. So this budget, what we expect is, firstly, in section 80C, which talks about repayment of principal of housing finance, there I think there should be, what we expect is 50,000 rupees standalone increase in exemption. Then there's another section, section 24B, which talks about interest payment on housing finance. There we expect 1 lakh rupees additional exemption so that more and more people can have houses. So housing for everyone. On one hand, we are providing housing to our people. Secondly, housing is a huge employment generator because one house is made so many people, mason, carpenter, then painter, then sanitary people, the plumber, person who does the sanitary work, electrician, painter. So many people get employed. So it's an employment provider. It adds to GDP. It adds to GST collection. Plus, what happens is it gives houses to people. And now we know in the election, opposition raised a very
All right. Let's also, in fact, while we, take care of that, let's also take a look at the fourth graphic that we have over here from, of course, the economic survey. And let's take a look at this one, which is talking about the SCBs catering to investment demand. Now, what you may ask, what are SCBs? They're the sectoral deployment of bank credit. And again, they're talking about 5 fundamentals, which is non-food credit, MSMEs, industries, services, and housing as well. The numbers over here, of course, the percentage that you can see over here, and when we take a look at this is, of course, the growth in bank credit to different sectors as of April 2024. So these are, of course, latest numbers that are coming in from April 2024. And again, when we talk about non-food credit, it roughly stands at 19%. MSMEs slightly lower, 15%. Industry over here, roughly one would say 7.5%. Services, roughly 21%. But over here, you can, of course, see housing and how it's completely shot up. It is at roughly 37, I beg your pardon, 0.75% over here. So these are, of course, the numbers that are coming in that have been tracked via the economic survey. And again, we have another graph over here, the large corporates tapping corporate bond market. So what you see over here in purple are the new issuances, and then again what you see over here, the blue line that you see over here, are outstanding corporate bonds. Again, data being collected starting June 2021 up until March 2024, and the numbers there, of course, being recorded in lakh crore. So we can, of course, see back in 2021, June 2021, it was roughly close to 36 over there, you can see. And now as we see it moving, there's, of course, an increase in the trajectory that we see over here. And now we, of course, reached roughly touching close to roughly 6.5 lakh crores over here. That's, of course, the number that is being tracked. So, of course, I'm being told that we're in fact being joined by Mr. Satya Kumar, I beg your pardon, senior economist on the broadcast. Thank you so much for taking our time and speaking to us on NewsX. Now, as far as these numbers are concerned, SCBs catering to investment demand in the large corporates, tapping into the corporate bond markets, how do you then view the data that has been collected, and what's your assessment on these numbers?
Definitely, it's very nice, because what happens is here.
Mr. Jindal, that question was for Mr. Satya Kumar. So
Okay,
please go ahead.
Definitely. The government, through its economic survey that has come out today, has shown some kind of an optimism, considering the fact that this is a budget post-election, which is coming up, and the economic survey has been published, and we see that the overall GDP growth is estimated to be about 6.5% to 7%. And tapping the corporate bond is an important initiative to bring capital formation. And we all know that capital formation is just not equity, but also the bond market is a very crucial thing for the growth of the corporates in India. So I look at this economic survey as a model is to actually empower the MSME, micro, small and medium enterprises. We are actually having a challenge where even though we may celebrate about the demographic dividend that the India is enjoying because of the youth population, but further growth impetus has to be provided to the micro, small and medium enterprises, considering the fact that MSME creates about 94% of job in the country. So the corporate bond market percolating to the businesses, to the MSME over a period of time will definitely create employment opportunity. And we also see new energy in the country with respect to startups. So startups, even though they may start up as a sole proprietor initially, subsequently it could turn out to be a private limited company, and subsequently they may even go for SME IPOs. So the vision of the government of Viksit Bharat can be is seen as a reflection in the economic survey. So economic survey as such, we all know, comes before the budget, but budget comes tomorrow, and we need to see the real allocation, what the government is trying to do. But this budget, this economic survey, as I see, is for the what I can see is that as a problem statement which has to be solved by the government is to see creating employment opportunity in all possible way, whether it is through the corporate bond market or a push for the infrastructure or for the agri reforms. Everything is leading to the employment generation. So what we are looking at from this economic survey, what I can see from the growth that is estimated is only through employment creation.
Right, absolutely. Stay on with us. Let's take a look at another graphic that we have over here for our viewers. A recovery to pre-pandemic trajectory in the GDP. So, of course, the numbers specifically talking about the pandemic and the kind of an implication that it had. But, of course, what has happened since then is, of course, what we can see over here. It's, of course, starting from 11 over there, and we're talking about 2024, March 2024. So, again, lakh crores is where we're the number over there, and we started over here at roughly 21 lakh crores. We can see, of course, the jump. There was a steady trajectory over there. But again, the year of the pandemic, which was 2020, we saw it, the numbers dip. And, as you can see, it's below 30 also, when it was earlier roughly over 35 lakh crores. Now, what we see is that now in 2024, again, there was a big recovery. There was, of course, a little bit of a dip over here in 2021. But after that, in 2022, there has been an overall trajectory over here, where now we've in fact reached 45 lakh crores. So of course that is what we see over here when we talk about the pre-pandemic and post-pandemic effect on our GDP. And I'm going to in fact ask Mr. Satya Kumar the question over here. Sir, pre-pandemic, post-pandemic, what do you make of it? How has our recovery been in your assessment?
Definitely, considering India as a market, we are the global HR of the world. So here we are betting on the human resources. So as we are betting on the human resources, our economy is dependent upon the service sector. So primarily our economy is dependent upon the service sector in the recent decade. So considering the fact that recovery has been quite fast in India and pushed by the government with respect to Atmanirbhar Bharat and the self-reliant economy, that is Atmanirbhar Bharat self-reliant economy, and pushed by the government in the previous budgets by allocating to the MSME sector and bringing reforms in the cooperative sector, like reducing the tax rate. All this impetus has tried to ensure that the economy got revived. Adding to this, the big capital push that the government brought, the last year budget, big capital push, and the previous budget post COVID was an instrumental thing for transformation of country, because at the end of the day, if the government is going to put money into the infrastructure, public infrastructure, and they also created national infrastructure pipeline through which they wanted to actually channelize 100 lakh crores. So these push actually by spending by putting money into the public infrastructure created kind of a impetus for creating employment opportunity. That's all the government can do. See, government cannot today go and buy a public sector undertaking, make it a profitable entity, and selling off Air India is also an important strategic step. And fiscal consolidation measures has been quite fiscal consolidation measures since the 2014. Even when late Shri Arun Jaitley ji, who a former finance minister, was there was a systematic effort to bring fiscal consolidation, whether disinvestment of the public sector undertaking or bringing in fiscal consolidation measures by selling off certain assets of the, that is asset monetization of the public sector undertaking, is definitely a step that the government can take as a first recovery measure. Post-COVID, the 100 lakh crores plan of the government, it is not 100 lakh crore allocation of the budget. Please understand, budget itself is not beyond 40 lakh crore as of now, but it should be somewhere between 45 lakh crore tomorrow. But what I see is that push for the infrastructure through national infrastructure pipeline is definitely a strategic step. The second important thing that the government has to do probably to push the infrastructure in the current year is that focus should be on agriculture. Focus should be on agriculture. today many youths who are graduates of the technology, who are coming from the food industry, they're all trying to innovate something around agri sector. So agri push is very important to be brought. By looking at this economic survey, what government can do immediately is to actually bring agri push.
Right, absolutely. Now let's also take a look at a couple of more graphs that we have over here. This is of course talking about the investment that is taken off. This is the de-seasonized gross fixed capital formation, and of course these are the pre-pandemic trends that we have over here. This was what the pre-pandemic trend was in fact looking like, but again India has done much better. So you can see of course the discrepancy over there. That's a very huge discrepancy over there. This is of course starting March 2011 up until March 2024. Again a dip over here during the pandemic, but again we've done much better compared to the pre-pandemic trends. Let's also take a look at the graph that we have over here. The industrial GVA growing faster than pre-pandemic trajectories. Again this is of course the de-seasonized industry GVA. You can see of course again a dip over here during the pandemic, but again what we see over here is that the pre-pandemic trends that were there, we've in fact done much better compared to what was predicted before the pandemic hit us. Let's also take a look at some more graphs that we have over here that we have taken out from the economic survey itself, and we have another one over here which talks about the services GVA lagging. Again the purple line over here being the de-seasonized service GVA, and again the pre-pandemic trends over here. Again, okay, here we have a bit of a difference where the pre-pandemic trends were actually higher than where India has arrived. So that's of course there in the picture. More and more graphs that we have for our viewers that we've taken out from the economic survey. Again a steadily declining deficit ratios. So here we have the three lines, and I'm going to tell you quickly. This is the primary deficit, we have the revenue deficit, and we also have the fiscal deficit. Now when we talk about fiscal year 2021 up until fiscal year 2024, there's of course you can see the decrease that's taking place over there. So from roughly 9.2 over here to 5.6 as far as fiscal deficit is concerned, from 7.3 up until 2.6, a big of course decrease over there. And when we talk about the primary deficit, 5.7 to 2.0, so again a decrease that we see over here. Let's take a look at the graph that we have over here also for our viewers, which is of course the decomposition of fiscal deficit, which shows increasing investment orientation. Again I'll give you an understanding on what's what. What you see of course over here at the top is the capital outlay, the revenue deficit. Over here you can of course see the net lending as well, and the miscellaneous capital receipts. So again you can see over here from 2019 up until 2024 how things have been looking. And again when we talk about 2019, capital outlay stood at roughly 43%. It kept on in fact reducing through the until 2023, where you can see I beg your pardon, until 2022 you can even see it drop to 33.8%. Again 2021 17.4%. So these are of course the numbers that are coming in. Again a huge increase over here, 47.6%. This is of course a graph that we have for you viewers. More and more graphs actually we have, and we want to quickly skim you through them. The consistent increase in revenue receipt driven by both tax and non-tax revenue. Again let's take a look at this fiscal year 2020 up until 2024. Purple you see non-tax revenue. The pink that you see over here is the tax revenue net to center, and the line that you see is of course the revenue receipt itself. So again starting from fiscal year 2020, where things were looking, it was roughly touching about 16 lakh crores to how things have panned out up until 2024, where it's even jumped over 25%, roughly standing at 26.5 lakh crores over there. So that's of course another chart that we have for you. The increase in gross tax revenue to GDP ratio driven by strong direct tax growth. And again what we see over here, three divisions over here: gross tax revenue, direct tax and indirect tax. Of course over here of course we can see how things have jumped. There's of course been a jump in the gross tax revenue. You see from 10 to 11.7 are the numbers that we're garnering at this point of time. As far as the direct taxes are concerned, 5.2 to 6.5, again a jump over there. And when we talk about the indirect taxes, 4.7, and of course it was looking a little more during 2022, but we stand at 5.2. So of course these are the figures, the facts that in fact tell us the tale. We have a last graph over here for you, and I'm going to quickly skim you through it. Tax revenues registered a steady increase. So that's of course something one should look at when we talk about again 2020 is purple that you see, 2023 is red, and grey has been enlisted in 2024. So again, as we see, whether it's corporation tax, which is increased in fact the last 1 year, there has been a jump over here of roughly 1% over there. Whether you talk about the tax on income other than corporation tax, again you see an increase over here. Customs and union excise duties also a relatively lower increase in 2024, but there is a jump over there. And GST also, we see a marginal increase in how things have panned out in the year 2024. All right, I'm going to take this conversation forward with Mr. Akash Jindal. So we've given our viewers an extensive understanding on the numbers. How do you view this, especially the fact that the pre-pandemic trends were much different than the results that we see today? To what do we then owe this increase?
See, now the numbers are quite
49,
attractive. Now GST collection, let me tell you, let me give you the exact number. April 2024, GST collection was a whopping 1 lakh crore. That's the gross GST collection. That tells of tax buoyancy. Plus, I must congratulate our government the way tax collection has gone up. Now, you were talking about GDP growth in the earlier question. GDP growth, let me give you the exact numbers. GDP growth for 2023-24 has been 8.2%, which is clearly and surely highest in the world, not amongst the developed economies. Forget US, China, Germany and Japan, which are the top 4 economies. Even you compare us with neighbors like Bangladesh, Pakistan, nobody is close to us. So GDP growth clearly tells, and the last quarter, January to March, also gives us a data of 7.8%, which clearly and surely tells that India, as of now, is growing much, much faster than the world. See, the world, as the economic survey points out, is going through a slowdown. So now the slowdown is clearly visible. Russia-Ukraine war has impacted economies like US. Talking about fiscal deficit, yes, we must go towards fiscal prudence, and our country is trying to aim towards fiscal prudence. But as of now, if we compare us with other countries like US, Germany, China, I think we are much, much fiscally prudent country, because a country like US, just last year, they had to escalate their debt ceiling limit just to borrow more. So India is growing much faster than the world.
Indeed, sir. Absolutely.
I have a lot of expectations.
Absolutely, sir. I'm so sorry. I'm completely out of time, but I'd like to thank both our guests for joining us on the broadcast, sharing their perspectives with our viewers.